here for another live video here. Just gonna wait for a few minutes for for folks to come in. If not, I'm gonna continue. On. Just felt like I just wanted to. It's gonna be a part two from the last live that I did the other day. So let's see here. 70 degrees outside. It's cold yesterday. I guess it was maybe around 50 degrees actually. Something like that. Now the temperature's back up to 70. I'm gonna start in exactly around 1 minute. At least 1 minute I'm gonna start. So okay. 1 minute's almost up. I guess it's not the best area for me to do a live. I don't know. I just, my day started off late. It's already nighttime. Hey, how you doing? If I'm hoping I'm pronouncing it right, Rowan. How you doing? All right. I'm gonna start. Right now. So, all right. Now my last live, I was discussing about in part one about the totalitarian party. All right, and I put the information, in regards to as far as the topic and the definition of the police state, in the description of that last live. Okay, so I didn't really plan on doing a part two. Actually, when I was tinkering around with after recording from the last live and trying to get the title of the last live, when it's in a process, YouTube does this process, takes like 24 hours for the live to, after you finish recording, it takes 24 hours for the for it to go public. It's sometimes YouTube they take a long time. Oh, how's my day? My day was good. My day's good. It started off late. I had to take my car out of the shop and grab me some cup of coffee before I started this live. But it's good. I work at night, so I was like sleeping. So it's just. So this is actually my daytime. So anyway, so some of them. Hey, how you doing? Let me see. Was it Kaiden? Sorry if I can't see it right. How you doing? Hey, is it trans alien? Hey, how you doing? Hey, oh, what's good? Oh, what's good? Oh, I'm good. I'm doing good. Thanks for asking. Hope you're doing all right. So let me just continue on. So what I was doing when I was getting my the last live set up, put in the information on the description, I realized the app refreshed itself from the other day. I saw that the subscribers number went up, and then it went down when it refreshed itself. Then I realized, like, you say, because I've been sharing this knowledge, this stuff that I'm about to share again in this live. I've been sharing this for a decade, so I kind of get a general idea that a lot of things that I say is gonna piss people off, and so this is the reason why I wanted to do this part two. I don't know if I'm gonna do a part three, but let me just do this part two. But before I go on with part two, I need to be very clear. I don't know if you are new to this channel, that it pops up in your feed, but if you're not new, I appreciate you here. But if you're not new, thanks for being here. Like and subscribe. But I want to make myself very clear here. All right, the things that I talk about, okay, I do my best to back it up. All right, with facts. I put down information, or I provide information where people can look up. A lot of things that I do talk about, folks can look up. I don't lean towards the government, the political narrative, what the system constantly brainwash us as truth. And that's why a lot of folks are frustrated and they don't know what to believe, which is understandable. And people get divided and all that stuff. But I'm gonna say this: I touch on what I mean when I expose the system. Okay, I expose every corner of this totalitarian system. Okay, and I want to be also clear on this. I am not affiliated with this system, no political parties, platforms. I'm not a fan of nobody of these people in office, not even the former. Okay, I'm not a fan. I'm not even a fan of JFK. All right, I'm not a fan of anybody in this post-Reconstruction system. Okay, that was created by the infamous 14th Amendment. So when I talk about the system, I try my best to touch on every department. I do touch on the main ones, like, for example, my last live, I talk about the Gestapos. Okay, for those of you who don't know what I mean by Gestapos, the thugs in uniform. So by me saying that, and I touch on that to connect to the totalitarian system, I know some people they get pushed away because why people get pushed away when I said thugs in uniform, some people, is because of their political ideology. Okay? All right? So, yeah, if you are conservative, you're going to be offended what I'm about to say. If you're liberal, you are going to be offended at things I say. If you're libertarian, you are going to be offended what the stuff that I talk about. Okay? All right? I've been dealing with this for a decade. Okay? I haven't changed. I haven't softened what I say. I say the same thing a lot. I'm still learning. So there's a lot of what I know now. I know more than I did, let's say, a year or 2 years ago. But I'm always constantly learning. You know, uh, you know, 813, oh boy, and Walmart. Okay. I don't know what you mean by that, but anyway, let me just focus what I'm saying. So, anyway, so the things I talk about is definitely going to offend a lot of people, that the ones that's leaning towards the political ideologies. Okay, all right. I know there's a divided between conservative, between Trump supporters and other conservatives. Look. When I talk against these political platforms, I'm not a Trump supporter. Okay, I talk things about him, but I don't want to focus so much on these demagogues because that steers the root cause of the problem away. Because let's just face it, a lot of people will sit there and talk about blaming about so and so's office, but nobody never really understand or even grasp of how the system by design is operating against us. Okay, so when people subscribe or unsubscribe to my channel, see what that does, especially I notice that folks unsubscribe to my channel. What that does, it gives me that fire, and I just want to share more. Okay, and I've been that way in other social media platforms. Okay, depends. Some social media platforms I don't put a lot of energy into it. Some I do. Like I haven't been on X that much. It just requires a lot of time to be on X. But lately now I've been doing YouTube lives now lately. Okay, I'll be on Facebook sometimes to share the stuff. But anyway, so when I get some sort of rejection from folks, it gives me that fuel. Okay, all right. It gives me that, you know what I mean? That extra fire. You know, not that I need it, because I'm very dedicated to what I've been doing. I mean, I've been doing it for almost a decade. Okay, so and what I'm trying to say also is that I do not care if I offend people. So people unsubscribe to my channel. It's not going to stop me. It's not going to slow me down. It's not going to, encourage me to crawl under the rock and woe is me and people don't listen to me, whatever. It doesn't matter, okay? Because whether people listen to the stuff what I have to say and research the stuff what I say, whether they do it or not, I am, as we speak, I am defending myself, my natural rights and liberties, okay? I did say in my other lives, if anybody listened to my, not the one the other day, but the one a few days ago, last week, I talked about the things that I've done. I started for example, I mentioned about the United Nations. I already started the process of trying to get rid of the United Nations out of Manhattan. Okay, there's levers to do that. Okay, there's other people tried to get rid of the UN, but what I put together is going to definitely. I'm very confident. I'm very confident to get rid of them. But because Congress, so-called Congress, they're like they're the core reason why the UN is there and maintains to be that location. I'm not sure. I'm trying to weigh things out in regards to this government shutdown. I started other process, the 1033 program. I mentioned that about that. I'm going to, for example, in Texas and every state in the union, I'm going to do what I can to end the 1033 program. Okay, that the Gestapos, that they're militarized, they do pose a threat to everybody. I don't care if you're conservative, liberal. I don't care about your political platform. So they are. And then I'm going to box them in regards to why they're militarized. I'm going to box them in about the fact of their own public duty doctrine, all right? Why that the police, and it's been well documented, why the police do not have any constitutional duty to protect us. And it's been well documented. So I'm going to box them in on that note. So why are you militarized? Okay? And I'm going to have them, actually, I'm going to force the state to produce documents in their police academy, all the materials, everything, their manuals, every manual throughout every city and county in Texas. I'm going to force it upon them to produce everything in regards to wearing their training manual, okay, that says that they have a constitutional duty to protect us, okay? I'm going to box them in. I'm going to box them in to remove that 1033 program, okay? But these are some of the things that I'm doing, okay? So it doesn't matter whether people listen what I have to say, which it will be to their benefit if people stop and put their emotions aside and listen what I'm saying. It will be to your benefit. But whether people listen to me or not, I'm still going to do what I need to do because I live in society, okay? I give a damn about truth and freedom, okay? I don't sit there and complain about, oh, somebody's doing this to me. Oh, the Rothschilds doing this to me. Oh, the globalists, all these other globalist elites sit down my behind and complain about it. No, okay? The way my mind works is that I come up with a plan, okay? And then, depend. And I become, I'm very resourceful. I'll try to gather as much information I can get, and then I would just do what I can to execute it. That's the way I think. Okay, and I think that's why a lot of people. I'm not saying all, but that's why a lot of people get pushed away because you know we we tend, and it's all by design. We tend to complain about the system's oppression, and then we're only dealt with only a few options. We could either vote, okay, and or go to the or protest, which neither one of those two things really do anything. It's just maintain the status quo. People are just they're oppressed. Folks continue to be oppressed. Voting is maintaining the same oppression that you will for the next 2 to 4 years. You know. So anyway, so yeah, so I just want to be clear. All right, I'm not here for the numbers. I know sometimes YouTube or any social media platform, you get all, get all happy about number of subscribers. I mean, it's great. People subscribe to the channel. Great. People likes they thumbs up the channel, the algorithm. Great. That's cool. But I was telling my friend the other day that, you know, I don't really want to keep saying so much about like and subscribe so much, but I look at it like this. And I was telling my friend the other day that if people really like what I got to say, that it resonate with them, they're going to like and they're going to subscribe. They're going to want to come back and listen to my next live or whatever video. I might do a presentation. I plan to do that soon. But people will come back. Okay? That's just the bottom line. They'll come back. Okay? I'm not I don't rely on that to build my self-esteem. The truth is the truth. Regardless whether if I say anything or not, the truth is still there. All right, so to continue on from, so I want to do part two real quick, okay? All right, part two, okay? And I'll put down the Totalitarian Party statute for everybody to look up. I will put my mail, if anybody want to sign up my mailing list to keep up as far as my process going, my website. I am building my website, okay? So I'm gonna put a link on that once I'm done recording, okay? Doing this live here. So, all right. So part two, I did talk about the fact that we're, the nature, the characteristic of a totalitarian system. That, for example, with surveillance, okay, censorship, okay. I want to talk about that in this one, right now. Censorship, okay. We you all know about freedom of the press, right? Freedom of how you express yourself, right? But it's being censored. Why are you being censored, right? Okay, I mean these are one of the. There's a lot of red flags about the system that we constantly maintain is totalitarianism. Okay, but I have to emphasize in this live that I'm not making any of this stuff up. They say out of their own federal statute. Okay. They say it out of their own federal statute. Okay. They're not going to tell you publicly that they are a totalitarian party. The party is not in the voting ballot. When you go out there and vote and which demagogue you decide to pick is not there. I mean, the last time I voted was I really didn't want to vote for anybody. I was at that point that I was ready to, as far as knowing the whole truth. But the last time I voted was Obama versus McCain. I didn't want to vote for any of them. I decided to vote for Obama. I don't know. I got sucked in with the whole. At the time, I got sucked in with the whole first black president stuff. Whatever, man. My vote didn't count because I wasn't. I guess I didn't sign up for the district. I guess it didn't count. I didn't care looking back now, but I don't remember seeing Totalitarian Party if I recall that. I mean, this is a long time ago. But these people are not going to tell you up front that they are totalitarian party. They're not. They're going to carry out what they do. Okay. All right. Far as them, this is an administrative. This is a centralized administrative. Okay. They all shared the same controlling mechanism. Okay. All right. Yeah, different policies through different political platforms and state varies. But again, it all goes to a centralized administrative system that, they all, again, they're all in unison in regards to controlling people. So I'm going to do my best to explain some of the, give you some examples. Okay. So I just mentioned about censorship. Okay, they censor you, whatever you want to share. You want to share something that's very important that people need to know. Okay, you're being censored. Okay, so yeah, that is one of the characteristic of a totalitarian system. They control you, for example, in regards to corporate farming. Okay, you have corporate farming. Okay, they control the government. The government has, the so-called government, have their hands on the farming industry. Okay, they definitely do. They dictate to people what they grow, what they can't grow, and farmers, they rely on government funding in regards to keeping them afloat. But in turns, they dictate to the farmers. Okay, farmers are suffering greatly now with this solar farming thing coming that's been steamrolling now all over the union. Okay, that's another thing. People don't have a lot of people don't have say. It's sad. I started a process. Actually, I put it together, a starter kit in regards to people taking action from state to state. But I'm gonna do what I can to put that on my website. It's a process. It is a lot of work. Not saying it's to complain. I'm just telling you for what it is. That's why I want you all to sign up in my newsletter. So when you get the updates, you know. So the solar farming that's taking a hit. As far as the farms. It's been proven that it's against the environment. It hurts the environment. For example, the technology relies on diesel, far as the solar farming. This whole green energy is all a scam. I've been hearing about that for a long time, though, especially those windmills, those gigantic windmills that you see. It's all. I actually seen one into doing service repairs. There's a little hatchet in the bottom of those gigantic windmills. And I saw there's like a little door that's open, and I didn't look further. But then somebody else mentioned it that there was a lot of chemicals or something that's being spilled underneath, right in the foundation of those gigantic windmills. And somebody said, I don't know where I heard it from. I wish I remember. But when I first heard about it, I put the connection to one time that I saw a little hatchet open. I'm like, wow. I'm like, look at that. I'm like, it's like it's like right in front of our faces. All this time, we actually think that these things are actually working by wind. I mean, we have ideas that use some electricity, but there's chemicals. I don't know the name of the type of chemicals, but there's been report that there's been like some sort of leakage in the foundation of those things. I'm like, wow, man, like they've been duped big time. Wow. So anyway, so the solar farming is a big issue. Okay? The government, the so-called government controls the economy. Okay? They dictate how the economy is going to run. Okay? That's another problem. People don't realize it. But many, not all, blame about whatever political platforms that's in charge, quote unquote, that that's running things amok. People complain about, oh, damn Democrats, damn Republicans, whatever, and whatever. And the economy is going like a roller coaster, go up and down. But the system itself dictates that. Okay, it affects all of us. Okay, it's not about a political platform. It's the entire system that's dictating our lives. Okay, I mean, what else? I mean, I talked about this in my other I did a live a week ago or so. I mentioned about it. My other process is the shutting down the weather modification program. Okay, maybe I'll do a live just on weather modification alone, but I'll say this very briefly. In Texas, there is a department that issues licenses and permits, for example, for individuals or entities to modify the weather. All right, look up the definition of modification. Okay, they control the weather. Cloud seeding. Look up cloud seeding. I mean, this is not a conspiracy theory. I think people overly use the term conspiracy theory as just basically being lazy. A lot of people don't want to research. You say something that goes outside a little box that they put themselves into, conspiracy theory. And some people do that, you know. They're just lazy. And then they'll look for something within the official narrative to support that whatever's being said as conspiracy theory, that is true. Oh yeah. See, I look up. The government tells me that there is no weather modification. Oh, they're not controlling the weather. It's being slowly but surely. The system is actually admitting publicly, in regards to them, involved in controlling the weather. They're admitting things slowly, but the thing is, for me, on my end, my goal is to basically shut down the weather modification program here in Texas, and I want to push through all the states. But because I understand what type of system we have and how to go about challenging the existence of this program, yeah, that's why I'm very confident about stopping it or putting it to a halt here in Texas. So we got the weather modification. Okay, they dictate the weather. They dictate how much rain that you're going to have. They dictate whether we have rain at all. Okay? In regards to a drought. They'll dictate when a hurricane is going to smack Houston, for example. They have ways. I know folks don't want to believe that. But, you can believe it or not. That's fine with me if you don't believe it. But all I'm saying is that they do issue licenses and permits. This is what I focus on. I don't say chemtrails. I'll just use the system's own terms that they use within their statute. Cloud control. Some statutes in other states will say things like cloud control. They have in regards to hail. Far as what other terms they got? Cloud control, some other term I forgot, can't remember off the top of my head. But this is another example, okay, of a nature of a totalitarian system, okay? So they control the weather, okay? For example, another thing I want to touch on is the property, where you live, the home, okay, your home. If you don't pay your property taxes, what happens? What happens when you don't pay your property taxes? They seize it. Everything's gone. Okay? They control. You don't actually own anything. They control that. See, I'm bringing a couple of things to get your attention about the nature of a totalitarian system. This is a very oppressive system. This system came into power through the infamous 14th Amendment with the help of the Reconstruction. Okay, the Reconstruction Act of 1867. We had a change of government, folks, in 1868. That is through the 14th Amendment. The federal has become, let's just say, the federal has been given more power than before. Okay? Before the 14th Amendment, we had a Republican form of government. Okay? Every state in the Union is a sovereign state, which states and nations are the same. So every state is a nation. Okay? And it still is, whether they want to admit it or not. But the states are sovereign. Okay? Each state in the Union is sovereign. And the federal, basically, the first 10 amendments in the U.S. Constitution that serve as a buffer to protect the states, the peoples in the states from the federal. Okay, the first 10 amendments. Okay, and obviously the Bill of Rights. Bill of Rights is not, you don't get rights from the Bill of Rights, folks. The Bill of Rights is, let's just put it like this, is a list of restrictions for the federal. What they can, what they can't do. So, but because the 14th Amendment, the creation of the U.S. citizenship, okay, that gave the federal a huge backdoor to intervene in people's lives. That is the reason why the federal is heavily involved. Okay? You understand, folks? The states are, through the 14th Amendment, the states are basically a subdivision for the federal. Okay? Whether you might have a state insurgent governor arguing with D.C. about blah, blah, blah. But the reality is, under this system, because every state in this union accepts federal funding, okay, which, it could be Medicare, Medicaid, whatever federal funding they get, the insurgent governors, they accept that. But, I'm just saying that how the system functions. Now, people might argue about what's going on now with the government shutdown. The reality is that the states governors right now are not a Republican form of government. Maybe I'll just do a live just to focus on that alone, okay? 'Cause I don't want to do a brain dump about different things with the system because it's a lot. It's just so much to talk about. So I had to give you a backstory about how we ended up with this system, okay? This system, when the South, during the Reconstruction Act, when the 10 southern states, except Tennessee, was put into military occupation, okay, people was going through military dictatorship, okay. People was deprived of due process, their property. They was deprived of their republics, okay. No states during those 10 southern states, they didn't have a Republican form of government. So they replaced those state legislators with the puppets, which is military commanders, okay, and pretended to get enough votes to pass the 14th Amendment because those 10 southern states didn't want to vote to support the 14th Amendment. They vote against it, okay? You can't force a state to adopt an amendment. There's nowhere in the Constitution that tells Congress to do that. If that's so, please let me know where in the U.S. Constitution that Congress have the power to force a state to adopt an amendment. All right, there's a process to that. So, because the 10 southern states became a barrier to the rump Congress at the time, because Congress actually collapsed in 1860 when the South seceded, Congress was wholesome between South and North and South. But when Congress collapsed, when the South seceded, Congress became rump Congress, okay? So you got the radical red Republicans, okay, that they went rogue. They did their own thing. And they went outside the boundaries of what Congress could, as far as what's set for Congress. You can look this up. I mean, you can look it up. You can just, I know a lot of people use AI these days. You can look up that, maybe do a prompt like this. Did Congress operate within its bounds between 1861, for example, to 1867? Did Congress operate within its boundaries. All right, do that prompt, whatever. You can do ChatGPT, Perplexity, whatever. Okay, since everybody likes to use AI, but you could do research by reading books and stuff. I'm still a fan of I have read books, historical read books of American law and history and all that. I still have them. Okay, and that was one of the best investments I've made. Okay, but yeah, do that prompt. Okay, it'll tell you that Congress did operate outside its boundaries. Okay, and I think it'll be easier for people to understand, to get maybe a better understanding if I did a presentation in regards to like a PowerPoint slide and stuff like that. I think that would be in regards to for example, folks have an understanding. Sometimes it's easier for the mind to see like a PowerPoint presentation for it to kind of like get a grasp on a topic. So this is how we ended up with the system through the 14th Amendment. Okay, all right. So I mean, we had an unlawful system all this time. All the people in office, maybe they gave some tiny warnings, but I'll put up JFK. JFK, he warned us about the elites, but he didn't really expose the 14th Amendment, the fraudulent 14th Amendment. He didn't expose about the voting clause in Section 2 of the 14th Amendment, that people voted in rebellion and commit other crime. And what is the outcome, the true outcome when people vote? He didn't tell us any of those things. So I'm not a fan of JFK. I'll be honest. Just anybody that doesn't really, and especially when you're in a position in office, and that you don't tell people the whole truth, I'm not a fan. I don't really care anything what you got to say, really. So yeah, it's a lot of we all of us, we have been duped. Okay, there is ways to stop the system. People can. You have to challenge the system of their authority that it holds, their so-called authority. There is ways. I'm bringing it about in this live for awareness. Okay, being aware of something is like one half. The other part is to educate yourself and take action. Sharing this with other people. People need to know about it. So the more people understand what we're really dealing with, the better. Okay. What else? So I had to give you a backstory about how we ended up in the system. Before that, I talked about the solar farm and all that. Okay. And then I talked about the weather modification. Okay. All right. So I think I touched around a lot of things. I know I talked about my last live about, for example, how the system dictates of how they brainwash our kids in school, whether it's private or whether it's public school, doesn't matter. Private school is just a better quality of brainwashing. You get better textbooks, okay, than the actual public school, but they're still being brainwashed. They don't understand, nobody in private school, I'll be very surprised these days that a parent would tell me that they took their kids in private school and their children know about natural rights and liberty. I'll be extremely surprised. But no private school these days, for example, and public school is going to teach our children about natural rights, okay, natural law, liberty. They're not going to forget about the state constitution. And that's the reason why we're in a mess today, because a lot of us, we're not taught or encouraged to read our state constitution. In fact, a great number of people are taught to hate the Constitution. Okay, we've been taught to hate it, and then you got some people talk about the U.S. Constitution so much that the Union only have one magic constitution. No, the federal have their own constitution, and the peoples of those states have their own constitution. All this has been done by design. through the federally approved, politically correct textbooks. Okay? They're not going to teach you the whole thing because they just lose control of the people. Okay? So keep people busy with the ongoing political nonsense, like, for example, right now, all kinds of, and you got the CIA, for example. They are, I hate to tip my top off to the enemy and their agencies, but tip my hat off to the CIA. They have done a superb job. I'm not saying it as like I'm happy for them. No, they have done a superb job to brainwash people since their creation from the Oval Office. They have done a superb job of brainwashing people to this day, and other agencies too, with their propaganda, how these agencies go about creating a military coup within other countries outside the Union, overseas, create puppet governments. Oh my gosh, that's another story of itself. But anyway, yeah, we have been brainwashed here. We don't know a lot of things. A lot of things we don't know. So I'm trying to see what I could cover on the totalitarian party. I mean, I just covered it. I feel I had to cover land, resources. They dictate the resources. They dictate of how they run, or whether you should own a business or not. They basically dictate, regulate everything. Okay, all right, and that's the reason why we don't have the protection in our states like our forefathers had. We don't, because the federal, through their agents, which is the insurgent governors at the state house, they dictate, or the United States, the federal, extend itself through the state house. Okay, you got these usurpers occupying our state houses, and they dictate our lives. I mean, I could put also another thing too. The federal, they control transportation. For example, Department of Transportation. If you look at, that the how massive the system is in regards to these agencies. I mean, we allow the federal to extend itself through decades. I laugh when people was getting all duped about Trump, about this limited government. I'm like, people have been duped. What are you talking about, limited government? You for limited government? Are you really? Well, why don't you address all the other agencies? There's a lot more agencies that exist now that are oppressing people. I know conservative at the time, they was fixated their minds on the Department of Education. I'm like, so I don't know. I didn't follow up with this nonsense about the Department of Education is going to be disbanded or whatever. Folks, you got a lot more agencies, okay? We're constantly under the federal jurisdiction. If you read Section 1 of the 14th Amendment, United States are subject to the jurisdiction thereof. Okay? None of your demagogue is going to address that or tell you about what you could do to be free. Okay? I mentioned this I think I mentioned this in my last live. Yeah, I did. In my last live, I mentioned about being a free man and being a freeholder. Okay? A free man and a freeholder. You can find those terms in your Constitution before 1860. Okay? All right? There is no such thing as sovereign citizen. I want to be very clear. I know there's a lot of people that talk about free man, and a lot of stuff they talk about is complete, utterly garbage. I stick strictly to the Constitution, state Constitution, and I talk about the federal Constitution. So there is no sovereign citizen crap that I talk about. I mean, it's not going to be an overnight fix. Okay, we allow the system to become massive, and how it dictates our lives. It just changes the way you think. I mean, we outsource our thinking by design. So your thinking is not of your own. And I'm just giving an example. If you're a conservative, liberal, libertarian, and you go by these beliefs, your beliefs are not of your own. You've been duped by liars, thieves, and psychopaths. Okay? That's the bottom line. That's the bottom line. It's the truth, and we allow it. This system is strictly go by consent. I mentioned in my other live about it. This system definitely run on our consent. And the system is going to presume authority until people take action against them. Voting and being in the protesting out in the state capitol is not going to change a damn thing nor address any of the things that I just discussed right now, folks. All it's going to do, if you're lucky, all to do is they'll just change the policy. Maybe whatever policy that they created to oppress you, maybe they'll just not enforce that policy, okay? And they'll just not enforce that policy, whatever policy, to oppress you, and they'll put it on the side. Or they will repeal that policy and put it and create another one to oppress you, a policy that you're probably not aware of. Okay? So all the protesting and all that ain't gonna do a damn thing. Yeah, you're exercising your freedom of expression. Yeah. Then you gotta get a permit. So what is he talking about? Freedom of expression. You gotta ask permission first to speak out in public like that. So give me a break. I mean, if somebody tells me that they're able to speak, I'm not gonna protest without a permit, then I like to know. Other than that, for what my understanding, you gotta get a permit. You gotta get permission from your dictators to speak in public. Okay, so yeah, me doing live is the I guess it's the best thing I could do without getting a permit, unless these people censored my live, which if they do, I'm not gonna be surprised. But that's not gonna stop me what I need to do anyway. Anyway, so I share a lot right here in part 2, and I'm gonna put a description in the description below. I'll put the statute of the Totalitarian Party. I'll put a link to sign up for my mailing list. Okay. So you get any updates about my progress, about for example, against the United Nations, against the 1033 program, against the weather modification, against the, I don't know if I mentioned this, but before I close out, I just want to say this before I close out in a minute, that I'm going to do away with the Federal Reserve notes. I've done research about that. There is a kill switch using their own, within this legal system, there is a kill switch for the Federal Reserve. So yeah, I'm a big fan of gold and silver and copper, okay? Yes, there is a way to do away with the Federal Reserve, okay? There is ways. You'd be amazed that if people would stop and look, but you're only going by what you know. But there is a solution to break the system piece by piece. There is. You're going to have to be willing to be committed. You're going to have to be committed. You're going to have to have a mindset of being focused. Because if you're going to be upset and keep tabs of what the demagogues tell you in the podium to get you frustrated, and listen to John, Dick, and Harry on Fox News and CNN, you will never, ever get to the bottom or even understanding of how the system operates against you. Okay? I'm going to tell you that right now, you will never understand fully how the system operates against us. But yeah, there is ways to break the system piece by piece, and I am determined and relentless to do that. And yeah, I am. So I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I did this part 2. I just needed to just really get this out the way, and yeah, I figured that I just need to. So whether people subscribe or not doesn't stop me. I'm very dedicated. So, anyway, I think that's all I gotta say. Thank you all for stopping by. Don't know when I'll do a live. Maybe I might do one tomorrow. I don't know. My schedule is. I have a very tight schedule, but until then, I will be back with another interesting topic. Take care.